When I finally made up my mind to give everything up and leave this city behind, the woman who once said she would spend the rest of her life with me knew nothing of it because she was busy passionately entangled with the man she had always loved from afar. I stared at the candle on the table, its flame nearing the end, slowly closed my eyes, and made a wish. Starting today, I would leave Xiaolongnu, leave her forever. Early the next morning, I received a call from Renshi. Along with the secretary, your resignation has already been approved by Director Liu. But he didn't notice who the person resigning was. Should I remind him? Renshi's voice came from the other end of the line. I lowered my gaze and said softly, "No need. Let it be this way. But you've been Director Liu's secretary for 4 years. He was most satisfied with you and relied on you the most. You're really not going to reconsider resigning." Renshi tried to persuade me with all his heart, but I only gave a faint smile. No one in this world is truly irreplaceable, and my parents' health is not good. I'm also busy going back home for blind dates and marriage. Since Director Liu approved the resignation, then I'll follow the procedure and hand over my duties. I'll leave after working for 1 more month. Sorry for the trouble. After hanging up the call, I continued sorting through my belongings. I had lived in this villa for 3 years. I had neither too many nor too few things, except for the essentials. I threw everything else away. As I looked at the room gradually emptying out, I found myself dazed for a moment. Countless memories surged up like a tide. 8 years ago, I, a young man from a small town, got accepted into Jing University and became close brothers with Liu Yuanfeng, the eldest son of a powerful family in Jingbai. We came from completely different worlds, yet somehow hit it off effortlessly. Attending class, eating meals, playing ball, we were always together every day. And slowly, I found myself stepping into his world, meeting his family, and falling for his sister, Xiaolongnu. But I kept those feelings buried deep inside. After graduation, Liu Yuanfeng went abroad for further studies. I stayed behind and became Xiaolongnu's secretary, just so I could see her often, till that one accident happened. Xiaolongnu was startled and bitten by someone. I had just rushed her to the hospital out of concern, but she clung tightly to me and showered me with an overwhelming wave of kisses. After a night of passion, I woke to find her sitting by the window, her delicate profile cast in the hazy light, silent and alone. When she heard movement, she turned back to me. "Do you like me?" Instinctively, I wanted to deny it, but she looked calm as she continued. "You blush every time you see me. You remember every one of my preferences. And you rushed to be my secretary the moment you graduated. Don't tell me all of that was just a coincidence." She said it word by word, and my face burned completely. In the midst of that dead silence, she suddenly handed me a card. "Last night was an accident. I have someone I love. I won't return your feelings, and I won't ask you to take responsibility. I heard from Yuanfeng that your family is ordinary. The money on this card is enough for you to live comfortably for the rest of your life. Forget everything that happened." It was only then that I remembered. Last night, she kept calling out King Yu. In Liu Yuanfeng's words, King Yu was Xiaolongnu's first love. She loved him so deeply that even after he broke up with her and went abroad, continuing to send her kisses from afar, she still insisted on waiting for his return. So this was it. I gathered my courage and called out to Xiaolongnu, who was about to leave. "I don't want money. I just want you to give me a chance. Director Liu, please try being with me once. If he doesn't come back, or if he does but you still haven't let him go, then on that day, I will walk away on my own." Faced with the love in my eyes, Xiaolongnu froze for a few seconds, then left behind just one line, "As you wish," and walked away. From that moment on, by day, I was her secretary. By night, I was her private lover. We left behind scenes of madness. In the office, in the Maybach, and against the floor-to-ceiling windows of her villa. For years past, no one knew about our relationship, and I accepted it all willingly. Until a few days ago on her birthday, I had prepared many surprises and waited for her past midnight. But she never showed up. What I got instead was a post on her moments. Xiaolongnu, who had never shared anything online before, posted a photo of herself kissing King Yu beneath a sky full of fireworks. The moment I saw that photo, all color drained from my face, and a sharp pain gripped my chest. Clinging to a last shred of hope, I called her. But the one who answered was King Yu. Hello? Who is this person who doesn't even say anything when calling? A moment later, King Yu's indifferent voice came through. Just someone unimportant. Don't mind it, let's go back to sleep. That was when I knew it was time for me to leave. I packed my things and prepared to go, but ran into Xiaolongnu at the door. When she saw me carrying my things, her eyes turned cold and unreadable. But she didn't try to stop me. Have you found a place? Yeah, the same old rented apartment. But the landlord only agreed to rent it for 1 month. Hearing that, Xiaolongnu frowned slightly. Just 1 month, why? I was about to explain, but she seemed utterly uninterested. Let me take you there, she said calmly. I wanted to refuse, but she insisted. The snow is heavy and it's already late. If something happens to you, Yuan Feng will be heartbroken. So I had no choice but to get in the car. Once upon a time, we had done countless foolish things in this very car, but now I barely recognized her anymore. The car was filled with model sports cars. A soft blanket lay across the back seat. There were even stylish LED light strips glowing inside. I found it hard to imagine that someone like her, so decisive and cold, would turn her car into something like this. Perhaps noticing my stare, Xiaolongnu explained. King Yu likes these things. I understood instantly. After a long silence, I said in a low voice, you finally got him back. Directly, I'm happy for you. She hadn't expected me to say that. Her eyes trembled slightly, but she said nothing more. Halfway through the drive, King Yu called. He said he wanted to build a snowman with her. She pulled over immediately, clearly eager to go to him. But when she looked at me sitting beside her, she hesitated. I knew what was on her mind, so I took the initiative to open the door. Director Liu, I'll just get a cab back. As if in a daze, she didn't reply. She got out to help me with my things. My hand slipped, and the suitcase fell to the ground. She bent down, and in the glow of the street lamp, she saw the scattered contents. Love letters I had written to her but never sent, all bearing her name. Secret photos I had taken of her, and the little things she had carelessly thrown away, which I had picked up and treasured. My heart clenched violently. I scrambled to gather everything. I'm sorry, Xiaolongnu said nothing. She got back in the car alone and sped away. I stood alone in the snow for a long time, but couldn't get a cab. So I decided to walk home, hugging my suitcase. But I was hit by an electric scooter. A deep gash over 20 centimeters long tore open on my calf. Blood spilled across the snow. I watched the vehicle vanish into the distance. Gritting my teeth against the pain, I lay in the snow for a long time, unable to get up. Once the pain had passed, I limped for 4 hours on foot, till I finally returned to the rented apartment. After tending to my wounds, I turned on my phone and saw a message Liu Ryan had sent after she left. Don't ever love someone so wholeheartedly again. There are plenty of women in the world. Don't hang yourself on just one tree. I stared at that message for a very, very long time. At dawn, I lit a fire downstairs and burned that entire box of belongings. The love that had burned inside me for 8 years turned to ashes along with the flames. Liu Ryan, I will grant your wish. I took 2 days off over the weekend and arrived at the company on Monday right on time. I went about my work as usual, then informed Liu Ryan there would be a meeting soon. As I walked to the office, Through the gap of the half-closed door, I saw Lu Qingyu. He was holding Liu Ryan in his arms, feeding him the half-eaten cookie from his mouth. The woman who once had a cleanliness obsession smiled as she ate it, then kissed his fingers without hesitation. You said yesterday you were craving dessert from this place, so I waited in line for 3 hours this morning. Tell me, how does it taste? It tastes great. Just like before. Sweet but not cloying. You used to travel far just to buy this for me every few days. Now that you're the president of the whole group, why would you still go yourself? You could just ask a secretary. Liu Ryan gently caressed his cheek, her eyes overflowing with tenderness. When it comes to anything related to you, I only want to do it myself. I don't want anyone else's hands involved. A smile bloomed on Lu Qingyu's face. He pulled her into his arms and kissed her. She instinctively held him back, deepening the kiss, completely lost in the moment. Watching that scene unfold, my breath caught in my throat. A dull ache spread through my chest. I clenched my fists hard. My fingers turned white, and my palms were a bloody mess. Seconds ticked by. It was nearly time for the meeting. I forced myself to calm down, raised my hand and knocked on the door. Director Liu, the meeting is about to begin. The moment she heard my voice, Liu Ryan slightly stiffened. She was just about to get up, but Lu Qingyu pulled her back. I don't want you to go. Stay with me a little longer. Liu Ryan's heart melted completely. She postponed the meeting by 2 hours. This meeting was supposed to discuss a project involving cooperation among major groups in Jing City. It was crucial to the company's future. I understood its importance, yet I still couldn't help reminding her. The CEOs of Ling Group, Gu Group, and Shen Group were all already waiting in the conference room. Oh, Ryan, your secretary is really annoying. He's totally lacking in tact. Hearing Lu Qingyu's complaint, Liu Ryan's expression turned cold. I already said it's postponed by 2 hours. No work is more important than Qingyu. My chest felt tight. I was struggling to breathe. But in the end, I simply closed the door and turned to leave without a word. Everyone in our circle knew Liu Ryan was a workaholic. No matter how busy she was personally, even after surgery, she would still handle all her work while sick. And yet for the sake of one man, she risked defending key partners by delaying such a critical meeting. That had never happened before. Did she really love Lu Qingyu that much? I lowered my dim eyes, forcibly pulled myself together, and walked into the meeting room. I issued a formal apology to the board members. With such vast family empires behind them, though these CEOs clearly had opinions, none of them dared to speak out directly, so they vented all their anger on me. I was unwilling but couldn't argue back. All I could do was bow my head and accept the scolding. I endured the full 2 hours with sheer will. Only then did Liu Ryan finally show up. I dragged my numb, aching legs out of the meeting room, only to be stopped again by Lu Qingyu. So you're Gunanzi. Ryan said you make excellent coffee. Everyone in the office looks a bit tired. Go and prepare an extra cup for everyone. And mine without sugar, just ice. I already knew that. He relied on Liu Ryan's favoritism to act so boldly, holding his head high with false authority. I didn't dare disobey, so I went to the break room. It took me 2 whole hours to brew over 400 cups of coffee. I brought them out one by one. But the moment Lu Qingyu took his first sip, his expression instantly darkened. He hurled the cup at me. With a thud, the hard ceramic mug struck my forehead and split the skin. Blood ran down as if it were ink bleeding on paper. I let out a muffled groan. My face twisted in pain. Clutching the wound, I collapsed to the floor. But Lu Qingyu wasn't finished yet. He picked up cup after cup of coffee and continued to throw them at me. My entire body was pelted over and over. From that moment on, shards of broken ceramic left deep gashes across my skin. Brown coffee soaked me from head to toe. Blood mixed with the liquid and dripped onto the floor. All I could do was curl up and shield my head and chest. The office fell into a suffocating silence. No one dared to step forward to stop him. Everyone stayed far away, watching Liu Qingyu rage. The noise soon drew Liu Ryan out. She looked over the chaotic scene before her and saw me lying there, bruised and blooded. Her brows knitted tightly together. "What happened?" she asked, looking at Liu Qingyu. He immediately put on a pitiful expression. "Ryan, I just asked your secretary to make me a coffee." My stomach was hurting and he still added ice to it. I almost had a spasm from it. Seeing the redness in his eyes, Liu Ryan's face darkened at once. "You've been with me for 4 years, and you still can't get something this simple right? Or are you holding a grudge against Qingyu and doing this on purpose?" I raised my pale face, wanting to explain myself, but she didn't give me the chance to speak. She immediately called over her assistant, Gu Nanzi, violation of company policy, dock this month's salary and the quarterly bonus, and issue a company-wide notice. He'll make a public apology at next week's meeting. With that, Liu Ryan left with Liu Qingyu by her side, watching her figure grow smaller in the distance. The tears I had held back for so long finally fell. I forced myself to stand up, enduring the pain as I fetched a broom and mop, and began cleaning the shattered cups and spilled coffee. A few kind coworkers came over to help, their eyes filled with sympathy as they looked at me. I clearly heard that rich brat say, "No sugar, just ice." How could he turn it around and blame you? Did you offend him somehow, Nancy? Do I even need to offend him? I've heard plenty of people say, he's just always moody and overbearing. Even the slightest displeasure will set him off. Lots of people in our circle can't stand him. But because Director Liu spoils him, no one dares cross him. Sigh, I've never seen Director Liu care for anyone this much. Be careful from now on, Nancy. We're just ordinary people after all. I could never compare to young masters like them. He still had Director Liu as his backing. Even if I was truly wronged, all I could do was become the scapegoat. I knew they meant well, but hearing those words, my emotions were in complete turmoil. I couldn't say a single word. There was a contract I handled once that had issues. The fault was with the client's company, yet they placed all the blame on me. Faced with their accusations and pressure, Liu Ryan firmly believed I wasn't at fault. She argued on my behalf, and finally cleared my name. But now Liu Qingyu lies without hesitation. She doesn't even bother to verify the truth, nor does she give me the chance to explain. She just places all the blame on me. I've worked diligently and cautiously, handled so many problems for her. And in the end, I don't even have that bit of trust. Or is it that in her heart, right and wrong no longer matter? As long as Liu Qingyu is happy, that thought filled me with bitter sorrow. The pain cut deep into my chest. It took me a long time to clean up everything. Dragging my exhausted body, I finally went home. Just as I finished washing up, Liu Ryan called again. "Bring some medicine and heating pads over." I gathered everything as quickly as I could and delivered it to her villa. We hadn't seen each other for a couple of days. Even that clean and elegant villa I remembered had changed since the peach trees planted by her father were dug out and replaced with cheap tulips that cost just $1. The black and white furniture in the room had all been switched to suit Liu Ryan's taste. Even though she always hated pastel pink tones, the display shelves were filled with jewels. The car keys on the table were clearly picked in Liu Qingyu's favorite style. I quietly took in everything around me. I walked to the bedroom with its light still on and gently knocked on the door. A moment later, Liu Ryan opened the door and took the things from me. Only then did she look up and glance at me. After I'd washed the coffee off, the injuries on my face looked even more shocking, and she froze for a moment when she saw them. "You're hurt this badly. Did you go to the hospital?" I shook my head in silence. She sighed under her breath. Her tone, unusually, was soft. He wasn't feeling well. He didn't mean to take it out on you. Don't take it too hard. As for the pay I docked, it will be added to your year-end bonus. Go to the hospital later and have it looked at. If it's serious, take a few days off to rest. I've already approved your leave. No need to go through procedures. There's no need. I'll be leaving at the end of this month anyway. I wanted to tell her I was about to resign, but she didn't let me finish. She handed me a card and interrupted my words. Just do as I say. I still need your help organizing a welcome party for King Yu. Get some proper rest and take care of yourself. All the words I never got to say got stuck in my throat like a stone. I gave a low hum of acknowledgement, took the card and left the villa. Just as the door closed behind me, I heard Lu Qingyu's voice. Ryan, has the warm pack not arrived yet? I want you to come warm me up. I'll be right there, just lie still. Don't move around. Hearing his voice so gentle like water, I let out a silent smile, and my eyes filled with self-mockery. After leaving the villa, I went to the hospital. After getting briefly treated, I rested at home for a few days, then received the banquet proposal from the assistant, from the choice of flowers to the dessert preparation, and even the servers' uniforms. Everything had the strictest requirements, and I only had 3 days to prepare. I could only force myself to focus and start preparing. After working tirelessly for a long time, the banquet began promptly at 7 p.m. Lu Qingyu appeared in a custom-tailored suit. He entered under the gaze of the entire crowd. Guests quickly gathered to flatter him. It's been years since we last met. Young Master Lu still looks as wealthy and radiant as ever. He truly shone with brilliance. Even a simple welcome party was held with such grandeur. It seems Director Liu's love for you really hasn't changed at all. I remember back when we were in school, someone confessed to King Yu. Once Director Liu found out, he forced that person to transfer. Every love letter that came in, he tore it up one by one. If anyone whispered rumors behind their backs, he'd go teach them a lesson and beat them so badly they ended up with broken bones. Everyone in the circle knew King Yu was Director Liu's first love and the jewel of his heart, his most treasured one. Look at that set of jewelry on King Yu. It must be worth tens of millions. And that dress is custom made too. There's only one like it in the entire world. Director Liu has never spared any expense just to make King Yu happy. I stood not far away, listening quietly, saying nothing at all. Lu Qingyu strutted over proudly and looked at me with blatant disdain. The banquet you arranged wasn't bad, but there are some minor issues. There's no carpet in the main hall. My shoes got dirty because of it. To make up for this mistake, you can help me wipe them clean. I lowered my head, speaking calmly and respectfully. Please wait a moment, we have carpets backstage. I'll have someone lay them down right away. Seeing that I dared to refuse, Lu Qingyu's expression darkened instantly. Just then, Liu Ryan walked in and noticed his displeasure. She immediately came over with concern. What's wrong, Ryan? I didn't want to dirty my shoes, so I asked your secretary to clean them for me. But he refused. Is he still holding a grudge over what happened last time? When Lu Qingyu said that, Liu Ryan looked at me with cold eyes. It's just wiping a pair of shoes. That's part of your job anyway. You've been a secretary long enough. Can't even handle such a trivial task. The surrounding guests began murmuring, their tones filled with sarcasm. My eyes darkened slightly. I swallowed the humiliation, bent down, and used my sleeve to wipe Lu Qingyu's shoes clean. He then pulled Liu Ryan along and wandered upstairs and down, deliberately making things difficult for me. His custom-made shoes had delicate material and collected dust with every few steps. My back was aching and numb from all the bending, but I had no choice but to endure it. Lu Qingyu still wasn't satisfied. He called for more alcohol to be brought over, then crooked a finger at me. I don't feel like drinking today, but it'd be rude to refuse my friend's kindness. So you drink all this for me. You drink it instead. I'm allergic to alcohol. Just as I was about to explain, Liu Qingyu acted all innocent. Liu Ryan knew about my alcohol allergy too. But just to please Liu Qingyu, she agreed on my behalf. Don't you always carry allergy meds with you? Take them and then drink. It shouldn't be a big deal. His tone left no room for refusal, and it crushed my heart completely. My face went a shade paler. Soon, a crowd approached with glasses of wine. I picked up a glass and downed it. Silently, I pulled out my meds, swallowed a few pills. Soon another group came over with wine for a toast. I raised my glass again and drank one cup after another. My stomach churned violently, and I couldn't stop myself from wanting to throw up. My head was spinning and heavy, as if I had grown used to wandering the chaos of the world. My vision blurred beyond recognition, and the whole room seemed to spin with me. In the midst of this daze, I heard Liu Qingyu call out to Ryan, "The cufflink you gave me is missing. Only your secretary came close to me just now. It must have been him who stole it with dirty hands." Hearing such groundless slander, I snapped back to awareness for a brief moment. "Director Liu, it wasn't me." Liu Ryan looked at Liu Qingyu's reddened eyes, then glanced at my drunken, wretched state. His face grew more serious. "There were too many people and too much chaos just now. Maybe it just got lost. Let's search the area first." But Liu Qingyu wouldn't let it go. He yanked his hand free from Liu Ryan's grip. "If not him, then who else could it be? Because that cufflink was your gift. That's why I care so much. Yet you still want to protect him. If you won't search him right now, then don't ever come looking for me again." With that, he stormed off in anger. Liu Ryan quickly stopped him and coldly called for the bodyguards. The next second, several bodyguards pinned me to the ground and began tearing at my clothes. My mind exploded in a thunderclap. I struggled with all my strength, but I was no match for their brute force. My shirt was ripped to shreds. My shoes were yanked off too. My skin was scratched red and raw, streaked with traces of blood. A flood of humiliation surged through me. I couldn't help but cry out for help. It wasn't me, I swear, I didn't do it. But my protest only earned me even rougher treatment. Liu Ryan couldn't bear to watch any longer, and was just about to stop them when a few waiters rushed over. They had found the cufflink. It had fallen on the staircase. In an instant, every eye in the hall turned toward them, and the dazzling diamond cufflink in their hands, sparkling with blinding light. Liu Ryan's furrowed brow finally eased. He waved a hand, signaling the bodyguards to step back, then picked up the cufflink and personally helped Liu Qingyu put it on. His tone softened a little. "The cufflink's found now. Don't stay mad, alright." Liu Qingyu finally nodded in satisfaction. He glanced at me, sprawled on the floor in utter disgrace, then leaned on Liu Ryan's shoulder. "Good thing we found it. Or I would have been upset for a long time. But your secretary suffered so much because of this misunderstanding. Should I apologize to him?" All at once, every gaze landed on me, on my disheveled, half-dressed self, buried under wave after wave of agony. I heard Liu Ryan's cold, indifferent voice. "There's no need to apologize. He's just a secretary. A little grievance is no big deal." Those plain words cut into my chest like a dagger, grinding flesh and blood into ruin. My heart, already full of wounds, felt like it was being ripped apart, leaving me drowning in unbearable pain. My head buzzed incessantly, and all that remained inside was a numb, hollow void. At some point, everyone in the hall had left. Only the glaring lights remained, illuminating every wound on my body. I endured the pain and got up slowly, picked up the jacket a kind waiter had tossed beside me, put it on and staggered out of the building. Outside, a torrential rain was pouring down. I walked into it without a second thought. The cold rain pelted my face like needles, dripping down one drop at a time, so much like tears. But I had no more tears left to cry. I had no idea where I was headed, wandering aimlessly through the streets. Before long, a car pulled up beside me. The window rolled down. It was Liu Ryan's cool and strikingly beautiful face that appeared. "Get in the car," he said, but I acted as if I hadn't heard a word. Dragging my weary body, I trudged forward through the rain. His voice, tinged with the sourness of jealousy, grew sharper. "Get in the car," he repeated, more forcefully this time. I stopped in my tracks, lifting my face, pale and drained of all color. I told him, "You don't need to care about me, Director Liu, I'm just a secretary, nothing more." The coldness in my tone made Liu Ryan's heart tremble violently. He opened the car door and walked over to me through the rain, gripping my hand tightly. "About tonight. I didn't handle it well enough, but I've already lost you once. I can't lose you a second time, whatever humiliation you've suffered. I'll find a way to make it up to you. Please don't push me away because of this." But this time, I didn't give in. I summoned all my strength to pull free from his grasp and stepped back a few paces. My voice was as calm and still as deep water. "Director Liu, you must be joking. How could someone like me dare hold a grudge against people as noble as you and young Master Liu? I was too naive and ridiculous before to have forgotten my place. From now on, I will always remember that I'm just a secretary, and I'll never interfere in your life again. Are you satisfied now? Will you let me go?" The more I said this, the angrier Liu Ryan became. His face darkened. His emotions spiraled out of control. Full well, that's not what I meant. I've never looked down on you. Those words were just to calm you down. In my heart, you and the distant future. I didn't hear a single word he said after that. His voice blurred into silence. The scene before me grew more and more distorted. My eyelids felt like lead weights dragging me down. All the strength had drained from my body, and then unexpectedly I lost consciousness. I don't know how long passed. When everything started again, I found myself in a hospital. Someone had changed out the floor. There were medicines and a cup of warm water by the bed. A nurse was adjusting the drip. She smiled kindly when she saw me wake. "You're awake. Your girlfriend stayed with you all night. She just left a little while ago." I parted my cracked lips, my voice hoarse and dry. "She's not my girlfriend. She never was. Liu Ryan and I were always a mistake from the beginning. Other than being his secretary, he never acknowledged anything more. Once I used to dream of a future, but now I just want to snap myself out of it and leave for good." I stayed in the hospital for a few more days. Liu Ryan didn't visit. He only had his assistant message me to rest and recover. When I had fully healed, I returned to work. Business in the company group chat was lively as ever. Everyone was talking about Liu Ryan and Lu Qingyu. He had rented out Disneyland for a whole week to celebrate his birthday. Fireworks lit up the skies for 3 nights straight, and he brought him to the family banquet. Even gave him the jade pendant traditionally passed down to sons-in-law. He bought land to build a private ski resort and named it after Lu Qingyu. I looked at those messages and felt absolutely nothing. After being discharged, I went back to work as usual, approaching every task with flawless precision. When it came to anything involving Liu Ryan, I would ask someone else to handle it. The office stayed unusually quiet for an entire week, until Liu Ryan called again. I had just delivered a document and was about to leave, but he stopped me. "I'm heading to a meeting. Qingyu doesn't like eating alone. Stay here and keep him company." My expression stiffened. I was just about to refuse, but Lu Qingyu spoke first. "I want to try it. You wrap one for me first." Liu Ryan closed the study door behind him. I could only walk over to the dining table and peel a whole plate of shrimp. then attend to the black carp. She even had someone bring over a large plate of walnuts and jackfruit. I said I wanted some fruit after the meal, but there were no tools here. She told me to do it with my bare hands. Staring at the hard walnut shells and the jackfruit's sharp thorns, my heart sank. I knew Liu Qingyu was deliberately tormenting me, but I had no choice but to comply. After peeling the walnuts and tearing open the jackfruit, my hands were covered in blood. Liu Qingyu still wouldn't let me go. She forced me into the kitchen to bring out the soup. The freshly boiled soup scalded my hands bright red. The pain made it impossible to squat steadily. My hand slipped and the soup spilled all over me. The steam burned fiercely. Within seconds, blisters began to rise on my hands. A searing, fiery pain. I bit my lip hard to suppress the trembling of my body in pain. When she saw me fall, Liu Qingyu seemed unfazed. The next second, the study door was flung open. He immediately put away the box. I heard Liu Yan say you were capable. So why couldn't you even carry a bowl of soup without spilling it? You even burned my hand. Liu Yan grew instantly nervous. She rushed over in big strides and asked where I was burned. Let me see quickly, does it hurt? Liu Qingyu raised her reddened hand and said there were only a few drops, not sure if it would leave a scar. How could you be so careless? Qingyu was pampered since she was little. She's never been hurt at all. Yet you managed to scald her just by carrying soup. Couldn't you have kept a little more distance? Liu Yan's face darkened. She scolded me with a few words, but when she saw the injuries on me, she couldn't bring herself to say anything too harsh. She could only pull Liu Qingyu away to treat her wounds. Before leaving, he saw me still frozen in place, and Chen Sheng called out to me, telling me to go to the hospital too, so we could get treated together. I endured the pain and followed them into the car. All the way, Liu Yan drove quickly. Liu Qingyu now and then mumbled incoherently. He was so distressed he could barely speak. After a while, he turned to look at him, his attention distracted. He didn't see the sports car speeding toward us. With a bang, the two cars collided. Under the forceful impact, my body slammed against the car door. My internal organs felt like they were crushed by a giant hammer. Blood gushed out, dyeing my world in vivid crimson. I shivered with cold, barely managing to open my eyes, and saw Liu Yan dragging Liu Qingyu out of the car. The sound of an ambulance came from the distance. In a daze, I heard two urgent voices. This gentleman just fainted from shock, but the one in the back seat is bleeding heavily and gravely injured. If not sent to the hospital in time, his life could be in danger. No, we must send Liu Qingyu to the hospital first. I could not let anything happen to her. Nothing else mattered more than her safety. The bewildered anger was the last sound I heard before losing consciousness. The boundless darkness completely devoured me. I felt like I had a long and terrible dream. When I woke, I opened my eyes and saw Liu Yan's eyes filled with bloodshot veins. Feng Nanzi, I had just returned to the country when I heard you were hospitalized from an accident. The doctor said you had massive blood loss. You almost didn't make it. I was scared to death. Seeing him made all my repressed emotions surge out. I couldn't hold back the tears. Don't be afraid, I'm all right. The two of us sat in silence for a long time. Liu Yan finally poured me a glass of water and watched me finish it. Then, remembering the doctor's advice, he started chatting about lighter topics. Have you been happy living in the country these past few years? Did my sister ever give you a hard time? Weren't you dating someone now? He asked when I would introduce her to him. He said he had to thoroughly check her out. If she treated me badly, he wouldn't approve of us being together. I kept a calm expression on my face. I told him the CEO had never bullied my girlfriend. We had already broken up. I said fate was strange, never expected it to end so quickly. He seemed afraid I would be heartbroken and didn't forget to offer comfort. He said it was fine, that the old saying was true. If it's goodbye, then goodbye. The next one will be even more obedient. He claimed to know many stunning beauties and promised to introduce them all to me. Before he finished speaking, the door to the ward was pushed open. Xiaoyan walked in with a stern face. She demanded to know what he was introducing and forbade any introductions. She said all the women he knew were just for fun, and not a single one was suitable. Hearing her flat-out rejection, Yanfeng instantly pouted. He asked what nonsense she was spouting and begged her not to speak so carelessly. He said the girl had only dated 2 or 3 guys, and not everyone was as deeply attached as she was, so obsessed with Lu Qingyu like she was hanging from his tree. He argued that he was just helping his brother find a girlfriend, and asked how she could even be against that. Hearing those words, a fire lit in Xiaoyan's eyes despite her effort to hold it back. She declared that if she said no introductions, then there would be none. Love couldn't be forced, and she told him not to play matchmaker carelessly. He agreed, saying love could not be forced. I smiled silently at that, then gently pulled Yanfeng's hand and looked at him calmly. I said he was just joking, then turned to Xiaoyan and asked what brought her here. Seeing I was unharmed, Xiaoyan finally let out a sigh of relief. At first, she wanted to say she came to see me, but the words caught in her throat, and she changed her tone. She said it was nothing really. She heard something had happened to Yanfeng, and came straight to the hospital after getting off the plane. She said she came to take him home, and just happened to check in on me too. Yanfeng waved her off, promising he'd be home tonight, and told her to leave first. Then Xiaoyan ordered firmly that since I had been so badly hurt, she would not allow me to be given any work. After saying that, she kicked him out, leaving just the 2 of us brothers in the room. Yanfeng spoke up again, singing praises of Xiaoyan. He told me not to be fooled by her fierceness, because she was really good to me. He said yesterday, when I was hanging by a thread, she personally managed the blood transfer that saved me. I was stunned hearing that. But after a moment, I composed myself again. I said she only did all that because she didn't want me to die. But if one of us between Lu Qingyu and me had to die, then it would always be me. So I no longer held any hope for her. In the final days of this lifetime, I continued to recover in the hospital. And during the nurses' rounds, they would often mention the VIP room upstairs. Rumor had it the president of the Liu group had rented the entire floor, and even invited several retired professors from the Jin family, all just to take care of her boyfriend. I'd seen it myself a few times. She personally served her boyfriend tea and water, bought countless gifts to make him smile, and stayed by his bedside without sleep through the nights. They said it was true love. I quietly listened to the gossip, then raised my hand to touch my chest. There was no feeling left, just a faint, slow heartbeat. It seemed the wound in my heart was finally starting to heal. On the day of my discharge, Yanfeng had originally planned to pick me up, but got tied down with family matters. I reassured him with a few words, then left the hospital on my own and returned to the company. It was my last day at work. I completed the resignation process as per the rules, then carried my box and prepared to leave. I ran into Lu Qingyu right at the elevator entrance. She was holding a cup of coffee in her hand. She deliberately bumped into me. "Can't you watch where you're going? You've dirtied my clothes completely." Again and again. "You're doing this on purpose, aren't you?" She directed and performed this whole farce herself. Then she called the bodyguards and told them to force me to kneel at the company entrance and apologize. I refused to yield, but she became even more aggressive. She splashed the rest of the coffee onto my face. "What are you looking at? Are you not convinced? Let me tell you something. In Liu Ryan's heart, there's only me. No matter what I do, she always take my side. Let alone punishing a lowly secretary like you." She strutted about with arrogance And after saying all that, she left with a face full of pride. The bodyguards dragged me down the building and forced me to kneel on the ground. I kept struggling, but I couldn't break free no matter how hard I tried. So I could only try to reason with them. I've already resigned. I'm no longer Liu Ryan's secretary. What right do you have to force me to kneel? The bodyguards showed no reaction. Their tone was cold as ice. President Liu already gave instructions, and young Master Liu's wishes are her wishes too. No matter what requests I make, they have to be fulfilled. Secretary Gu, save your words for President Liu. With just a few words, they completely silenced me before I could finish. I realized that no matter how much I said, they wouldn't listen. So I gave up struggling. Colleagues and passers-by came and went, glancing at me. All of them whispered behind my back. Some were even taking pictures. In the bitter cold of winter, I knelt outside for a full 7 hours. The skin on my knees was torn open. My face turned purple from the cold, and I kept shivering uncontrollably. I held on with nothing but sheer willpower. Just before work ended, my mind began to go hazy. Suddenly, I heard someone calling my name. I forced myself to lift my head and saw Yu Yuanfeng rushing to my side. You just got discharged from the hospital. Why are you kneeling here? Who's doing this to you on purpose? With a dry throat, I instinctively whispered Liu Qingyu's name. As soon as he heard that, Liu Yuanfeng's eyes burned with rage. He helped me up and stormed into Liu Ryan's office. Liu Qingyu, you've gone too far. Nanzi didn't do anything to offend you. Why would you make him kneel? He's my sister's secretary. He has nothing to do with you. What kind of act are you putting on here? Liu Ryan was inside too. When she saw how disheveled I looked, her brow furrowed. She was just about to ask what happened, but Liu Qingyu suddenly wrapped her arms around his waist. Ryan, I didn't do it. I have no grudge against Secretary Gu. Why would I suddenly punish him like that? I don't even know how I offended him. And now he's slandering me like this. Hearing Liu Qingyu shift the blame, Liu Yuanfeng was furious. He charged forward and punched Liu Qingyu in the face. Your lying Nanzi never tells lies. For the first time in his life, Liu Qingyu was humiliated like this, and he immediately burst into tears. Ryan, your secretary is such a bully. And now even your brother is helping him bully me. You're all one family. We're breaking up. The moment she said that, Liu Ryan's expression turned pale. Then she stood up with a cold face and clapped her hands. She slapped Liu Yuanfeng across the face. Enough, Liu Yuanfeng. How long are you going to keep making a scene? Qingyu is your brother-in-law. Then she turned to me with an icy glare. Why did you cause trouble for no reason? If Qingyu does this again, you don't need to stay here anymore. Liu Yuanfeng held his face in silence. I looked at my sister with a face full of shock. I deeply regretted dragging him into this mess. I hurriedly pulled him away. Yu Yuanfeng was seething with anger inside. He still wanted to go back and argue on my behalf. I had no choice but to tell him that I had already resigned and that I planned to leave this life behind. When he heard that I was leaving, Liu Yuanfeng felt both reluctant and sad. He couldn't even bother to go pick a fight anymore. He held onto me and kept asking questions. He asked if I could just not leave. I simply patted his shoulder and repeated the old truth that all gatherings must come to an end. Liu Yuanfeng's eyes instantly turned red. On the last day of this life, the two of us went out for a meal together, full of endless sighs and emotions. That night, Liu Yuanfeng didn't go home either. He stayed in my tiny rental room, drinking with me. I solemnly promised him that even after returning home, I would contact him every day. And if I ever found someone I liked through a blind date, he would be the first to know. We talked the whole night through, covering everything from the past to the future. When dawn broke, he personally took me to the airport. We reluctantly said goodbye. Just then, a message from my confidant Liu Ryan arrived. She was asking where Liu Yuanfeng was. He was still resentful about what had happened the night before. He was about to call her and curse her out. I quickly stopped him. Let it go, Yuanfeng. Let the past stay in the past. From now on, don't act impulsively because of me and Lu Qing anymore. After all, your sister truly loves him. He'll be your brother-in-law in the future. You two should get along. Hearing that, Liu Yuanfeng's eyes turned red again. Soon it was time to board. I waved goodbye to Liu Yuanfeng and turned to walk into the boarding gate. Right before getting on the plane, I sent one last message to Liu Ryan. 8 years of secret love, 4 years of recklessness. Everything ends here. President Liu, from this day on, I am no longer your secretary, and I no longer have feelings for you. We each return to our own sea of people. There's no need for us to meet again in this life. After sending it, I didn't care what the reply would be. I immediately blocked all his contact information, and without looking back, I stepped onto the plane. At the moment that message was sent, Liu Ryan was drying her hair. She heard the sound of her phone and was just about to pick it up. But Lu Qingyu beat her to it. I'll check it for you. He waved the phone, smiling brightly. Liu Ryan couldn't do anything about him, so she smiled and said fine. Her phone had long been set with Lu Qingyu's fingerprint access. The man casually opened my chat window and saw that message. A flash of disdain crossed his eyes. He moved his fingers and deleted the message. On the first day he came back, he had already learned about everything between Liu Ryan and me. In his eyes, it was nothing more than a one-sided infatuation on my part. Everyone knew Liu Ryan was a devoted lover, loving him to the core. There was no way she would fall for someone else. After deleting that message, he also noticed quite a few work emails from partners. He deleted those too. Just then Liu Ryan finished drying her hair. The woman came over with the scent of body wash and wrapped her arms around him. What was the message? Lu Qingyu turned around and held Liu Ryan tightly, casually tossing the phone aside. Just some spam. Don't mind it. Shall we continue? He smiled, pressing his warm body close to Liu Ryan. The woman, moved by emotion, nodded in agreement. I ignored my phone completely. I carried Lu Qingyu to the bed in my arms. We spent a night tangled in passion. When I woke up, Liu Ryan was still asleep. Suddenly, my phone rang loudly. At first, I had no intention of answering it, but the ringtone kept going. It was so persistent that I couldn't ignore it any longer. There was no work scheduled for today. I looked at the woman curled in my arms, then picked up my phone, lowering my voice to avoid waking her. My face was filled with helplessness. What's the matter? Today is the weekend. There shouldn't be any work arrangements. It was my other assistant on the line. Her tone was flustered and anxious. She said the partner had emailed me yesterday, and today they were coming in for a meeting. They had already arrived at the office. Director Liu and the others were waiting for me. When did this happen? I never received any email. Liu Ryan immediately shook off her sleepiness. She sat up and started getting dressed in a hurry. A deep frown formed on her face. How could something this important reach everyone but not me? What the hell have I been doing? If the company suffers a major loss, can I really take responsibility for it? Tell him to come pick me up right away. He probably thought I was still angry, so he avoided disturbing me with work. But the assistant on the other end froze for a moment and cautiously said, Director Liu's assistant Gu has already resigned. That one sentence struck me like thunder in my head. Liu Ryan clutched the phone tightly. When did this happen? Did I ever approve his resignation? Tell him to come back immediately until I give permission. He's not allowed to resign. At that moment, I could no longer care about Lu Qingyu in bed. Lu shouted while speaking. How would I dare to resign over such trivial matters? He clearly accused me of invading his privacy, but he was the most important person in my life. Whatever grievances he suffered, he promised to make it up to me someday. Yet I left without saying a word. The woman's eyes turned dark, obviously furious beyond measure. The secretary on the line was trembling in fear, too afraid to say anything more. Just as my patience was wearing thin, a strong arm wrapped around my waist. "What's wrong, Ryan?" It was Liu Qingyu, looking like she had just been woken up. Seeing her, Liu Ryan couldn't help softening her voice. "You don't need to worry about work matters. Go back to sleep." But I had already decided to go to the company, no matter what. I couldn't afford to offend the business partner, but Liu Qingyu held onto me tightly without letting go. "Sleep with me a bit longer. It's still early. Ryan, don't leave me, please." Her tender words melted my heart. I thought back to what had happened last night. I let Liu Qingyu pull me into her arms. She wanted to hold me close, so I lay back down beside her and coaxed her to sleep peacefully. Another half-hour passed like that. By then, my phone was flooded with calls from the secretary. I replied to the messages quietly in the dark. "Move today's meeting to the afternoon for me." The secretary quickly responded, "Director Liu, they've already left." And the contract fell through. My heart sank at that moment, but looking at the person sleeping in my arms, I felt it was all still worth it. A faint smile curled on my lips, then quickly faded again. I recalled something strange the secretary had said. Liu Ryan tapped into the fragrance inbox. There were no new emails. Then I remembered Liu Qingyu had checked my phone last night. With a bit of hope, I opened the trash folder, and my face turned pale. Those damn women! The trash folder had visitors. There were several emails from the business partner, all sent exactly last night when I hadn't had a chance to check my phone. And the only person who touched my phone last night was Liu Qingyu. A cold suspicion stirred in my heart. How could Liu Qingyu know nothing, yet still take it upon herself to delete my work messages? Losing that deal would cost the company at least 10 million in profit. And today was such an important meeting, since I didn't inform him. In the past, even if the email had been sent once, I would have had everything prepared in the morning. If it weren't for me throwing a little tantrum this time, how could we possibly have lost the business partner? He dialed my number, wanting to question me, but no one answered. No matter how many times he called, it was always the same automated tone. A wave of panic suddenly hit his chest. Something came to his mind. He opened the recycle bin and looked again. And there, he clearly saw the message I had sent him. It was from last night. He clicked to restore it. The message popped up, stinging his eyes. 8 years of silent love. For years of madness. Everything ends here. From this moment on, Mr. Liu, I will no longer be your secretary. Nor will I love you anymore. Let us both return to the sea of people. There's no need for us to meet again in this life. For some reason, seeing that message, he should have felt relieved. I finally no longer loved him. Just like he said, I would no longer hang myself on his tree. But when he truly faced the news of my departure, his chest was suddenly overwhelmed by a suffocating feeling, as if he had lost something incredibly important. He couldn't help but recall everything between us. For years ago, an accident. We ended up in bed together. Back then, his heart was full of only Xiaoru. He just wanted to send off his brother's friend with money. He never thought of starting anything with me. But my eyes were bright and cautious, like a little animal. When he couldn't bring himself to reject me cruelly, he could only let it all happen. We acted recklessly in so many places, leaving traces of each other everywhere. In those 4 years, I was his best secretary, and also his most devoted admirer, never asking for anything, just silently bearing everything he took from me. Even if I had no name, no status, just following him was enough. In her heart, Xiaoru had thought it countless times. I really was a fool. Just a little bit of kindness. And I gave him my everything. He told me not to dream of a future with him, that he would only ever belong to Xiaoru alone. Now that he finally shook off this little tale, why then? Did he not feel as happy as he imagined? He stared at that message for a long time. In the end, he let it go. If I was gone, then so be it. This was the path meant for both of us. He put down the phone, stopped looking at it, and peacefully held Xiaoru back to sleep. To suppress the discomfort in his chest, he postponed his work again for several days, accompanying Xiaoru out to have fun. No matter if she fancied jewelry or luxury cars, he bought them all without hesitation. But the more he did this, the more uneasy he felt inside. A restless agitation lingered between his brows. Xiaoru didn't notice it at all. She was fully immersed in the joy of traveling. While waiting for him, Xiaoru couldn't help but take out her phone. She opened the chat with me. Our last conversation had stopped a month ago. Ever since Xiaoru returned, he had never contacted me again. A sudden urge stirred in his heart. He slowly typed out a message and sent it. You can come back anytime and continue being my secretary. His supposed way to save face was greeted by a glaring, red exclamation mark. Something outside my world that he could no longer reach. For the first time in all these years, I had blocked him. Xiaoru's hands trembled a little, staring hard at the screen. Until Xiaoru returned, she said, Yuan, thank you for waiting. I blocked him once. Liu Ryan's hand trembled slightly. She stared at the screen with fierce intensity. Until Gu Qingyu returned. Ryan, you've waited a long time, he said. Shall we go see the aurora tomorrow? He wore a full set of casual clothes, relaxed under his guardian's gaze. He put away his phone with disinterest, showing no particular reaction. But he didn't feel like enjoying her tenderness either. I should return to the company tomorrow, I told her. I've been away for so long. A lot of work has piled up. I'll keep you company once I've handled it all, alright? As the CEO of the company, there were always critical decisions to make and important meetings to attend. Finding even a few days for this break was already difficult, and I had done it just to make it up to Lu Qingyu. During this time, my company had been suffering losses. The man furrowed his brows, clearly a little displeased. Alright, but I'm going with you, he said. I'll help you. Ryan smiled gently, and that filled my heart with warmth. I stopped thinking about my own troubles. Once I arrived at the company, a group of secretaries swarmed around me. Director Liu, you're finally here, one of them said. This is the company's profit and loss report for this period. These are the partners who plan to terminate their collaborations with us. All of these matters are extremely urgent, and here is the recent personnel turnover report. A batch of senior employees have submitted resignations. Liu Ryan frowned deeply, a long, troubled crease forming between his brows. He had only been away from the company for a short while. How had it fallen into such a state? He took the documents and felt a pounding headache reading them. Then he slammed them heavily to the floor. What the hell have you all been doing? He shouted. I was only gone for a few days, and there's been this much loss. Those partners. Couldn't you have waited for me to come back before letting them go? There was a loud bang as the folder hit the floor with force. None of the secretaries dared to speak. After a long silence, one of them finally spoke in a low voice. These tasks were usually handled by Secretary Gu. Director Liu instinctively wanted to call for me, only to remember I had resigned long ago. His face darkened even more, by several shades. I replied calmly, I was the one doing all that. Now that I'm gone, none of you can manage? No one dared say another word. For 4 years, I had worked with dedication. Everyone had seen it with their own eyes. The successor couldn't match my performance. A heavy silence filled the office. Lu Qingyu chuckled softly, trying to lighten the mood. Ryan, it's just a secretary who left, she said. I'll take over the role. I'm sure I'll do it even better than me. You should take a rest. I'll handle these matters for you. Liu Ryan smiled, relieved. Thank you for your trouble, he said. Qingyu, from now on, listen to her more. After saying that, Liu Ryan picked up the urgent documents and headed back to his office, leaving Lu Qingyu and the other secretaries behind. As soon as he was gone, Lu Qingyu's expression changed. He swept his gaze across the secretaries, then suddenly slapped one of them across the face. With a cold sneer, he said, "You were standing that close to Director Liu just now. What were you trying to do? Seduce him?" The words terrified the secretaries. They held their faces and hurried to explain. "That's impossible. We were only doing our jobs properly. Don't accuse us without reason." Lu Qingyu couldn't stand hearing another word. He called the bodyguards to drag the secretaries away and forbade them from ever returning to the company. He changed into a professional outfit, a tailored white shirt that framed his broad shoulders and slim waist. He had deliberately left the collar open, revealing the love bites from a few days ago. I knocked on the office door. After hearing Liu Ryan's response, I walked in. "Director Liu," I greeted him. He pulled Liu Ryan's hand and placed it beneath himself, but with so many company affairs to handle, Liu Ryan clearly wasn't in the mood for intimacy. He softly called out my name, his brows furrowed with a trace of sorrow. "Qingyu, what are you trying to do?" he asked. "It's too busy right now. Let's work first, all right?" But I ignored his refusal, bracing my hands on either side of his chair. "A little later won't make a difference," I said. Director Liu spoke as. His large hand slid from my collarbone down to my abdomen. Liu Ryan's body went weak. A wave of tingling heat rose from the base of his spine. Unable to resist the temptation, he grabbed my collar and yanked me down, pulling me closer, and pressed a burning kiss onto my lips. It wasn't until noon that we finally stopped and caught our breath. My neck was covered in faint red marks. Liu Ryan's collar was disheveled beyond repair. He glanced at his watch. It was already this late, and the secretary still hadn't brought lunch. If it were me, I muttered, I would never have forgotten something like that. His face darkened with displeasure. He called the secretary. "What's going on?" he demanded. "How could you even forget to bring lunch? Do none of you want to work anymore?" "Director Liu, we were all kicked out by young Master Liu," came the reply. "We've thought it over, and we think it's time to call it quits. We don't have Secretary Gu's strength. We can't bear everything alone." The secretary's voice was filled with helplessness. Liu Ryan didn't react right away. He instinctively asked what had happened to Gu Nanzi. That same secretary sighed and sent over a folder. "It's all in there." Director Liu ended the call without another word. Panic and doubt welled up inside Liu Ryan. He opened the file. Inside was a collection of evidence showing I had been framed by Lu Qingyu from the day he returned until now. Every accusation against me had been a false charge. The more Liu Ryan read, the more disturbed he became. All the feelings he had repressed could no longer be hidden. He never imagined Lu Qingyu could be like this, and that I had endured so much humiliation in silence. It felt like his heart had stopped beating. He stared at those videos for a long time. I lounged lazily in the chair, seeing Liu Ryan suddenly freeze like that. "Ryan, what's wrong?" I asked. "Weren't you going to have someone bring lunch?" "I'm starving." Liu Ryan slowly turned his head, but his eyes no longer held the deep affection they once did for me. He seemed unable to believe what he was seeing. I called his name again, but his expression didn't change, which made me suddenly nervous. With a cold voice, he asked, "Why did you do this?" I didn't understand, replying, "What are you talking about?" The next second, Ryan screamed like someone gone mad. "I asked you, why did you do it?" Why make the medicine harder to treat? Though I was startled by his tone, hearing my name, I still didn't understand. Isn't he just a secretary? I said. What's the big deal? Ryan, why are you so angry? Didn't you say yourself he was just a secretary? I said it with absolute confidence. But Liu Ryan deflated like a balloon. Yes, I was the one who let him go in the first place, he murmured. So why am I this angry now? I stepped closer, wanting to hold him. Don't be mad anymore, Ryan, I said. Let's go eat. But the sound of my voice only made Liu Ryan more irritated. His mind flooded with the reasons I had been wrong. He realized he had hurt me again and again. Instead of choosing to believe in me, he wondered how painful my heart must have been back then. The more he thought about it, the more I felt like I couldn't breathe. I didn't even have the patience to keep a calm face. I pushed Lu Qingyu away. If you want to eat, go eat by yourself, I said. I'm not in the mood right now. I didn't push him hard, but the man still stumbled back a few steps. His face was filled with disbelief. After all, the woman who had been indulging him in everything these past days had actually pushed him away for someone else. And that someone was me, a secretary who had already resigned. Lu Qingyu's temper exploded instantly. Liu Ryan, what are you trying to do? He yelled. You're actually defending that man, a secretary, and you treat me like this? Are you planning to break up with me next and go chase that secretary back? Lu Qingyu's words made Liu Ryan feel a deep pain. He didn't even know what he was doing anymore. Why did he feel so uncomfortable and miserable? Shouldn't he be happy that I left? There shouldn't have been anything between us in the first place. But now he could only clench his fists, trying desperately to suppress his emotions. I'm just too tired, he said. You go eat by yourself first. Lu Qingyu let out a cold snort and ignored him, then turned and walked away without looking back. Facing the untouched meal in the office, Liu Ryan felt like his head was about to split open. He didn't ask anyone to send food again. Instead, he buried himself in work, trying to forget everything that had happened. He worked nonstop from afternoon until night, finally wrapping up the company's matters for this period. It was almost laughable. Most of the problems had been caused by Lu Qingyu, yet he still had to clean up the mess for him, nearly sacrificing all of this year's company profits. He sat upright, leaning back into his chair, taking a deep breath. It was already dark outside. He checked his phone again. Not a single message. An empty feeling hollowed out his chest. A wave of exhaustion and loneliness washed over him. Now he was the only one left in the entire company. He couldn't help but speak aloud. Gunanzi. This was the first time he called my name since I left. Those 3 words felt like a spell. Once spoken, he couldn't stop the flood of memories about me. No matter how late it used to get, I would always stay and work with him. Everything would be neatly arranged and handled. We would share tender moments in front of the office floor-to-ceiling windows. My face would flush with passion, my eyes looking up at him like a devoted puppy, unaware that such a look would only make him want to bully me more. More and more memories flooded his mind, and he could no longer control his emotions. He picked up the phone and dialed his brother's number. Seconds passed, but it felt longer than half a lifetime. Finally, he heard someone pick up on the other end. He couldn't wait and blurted out, Yuan Feng, do you know where Gunanzi went? His brother gave a mocking laugh. You're so deeply in love with Lu Qingyu, and now you're looking for Gunanzi? He felt his chest tighten, gripping the phone with difficulty. I know everything now, he said. All the things that happened before were orchestrated by Qingyu himself. I want to bring Qingyu and apologize to Gunanzi. He can come back. I won't let Qingyu make things hard for him anymore. But before he could finish, he was cut off by Liu Yuanfeng. No need. That man no longer needs your sorry excuses, and you'll never find him for the rest of your life. With that, Liu Yuanfeng hung up the phone, as the busy tone echoed from the other end. A flood of regret and helplessness surged through his chest, and in his fury, he hurled the phone hard against the ground. Then I heard the sound of the office door being pushed open. He stood up abruptly, thinking it was the person I had been missing so much. He looked toward the door full of hope. But the one who walked in wasn't the person he longed for. It was Lu Qingyu. The man had clearly heard the name I had accidentally called out. He couldn't understand why it was always a secretary, always going against him. He looked at the disappointed Liu Ryan, unable to bear the stark contrast. Why is it always Gunanzi, Ryan? Do you actually like him? He questioned her. Liu Ryan didn't answer. After realizing the one who entered wasn't me, her heart had already drifted away. But seeing her like this only enraged Lu Qingyu further. He was completely consumed by anger and shouted hysterically, "He's just a secretary, a useless nobody. The moment I came back, I knew his intentions toward you weren't pure. It's a good thing that kind of man is gone. Ryan, didn't you say I was the only one you loved? What does this mean now? Did you fall in love with him?" Facing Lu Qingyu's relentless questioning, Liu Ryan's heart was in complete chaos. She remained utterly silent, but Lu Qingyu, used to a life of indulgence, only hated me more the colder she treated him. The more she ignored him, the more his hatred for me grew. He violently swept everything off the desk. "I heard everything just now. You asked where Gunanzi went. You still want to find him. You want to bring him back. You've fallen in love with him." Having reached the limit of her patience, she looked at Lu Qingyu with eyes that no longer held any affection. She could no longer understand why she had ever loved someone like him. So unreasonable, so spoiled and cruel. He had even driven me away. And thinking of that, Liu Ryan couldn't hold back any longer. Her eyes reddened as she recalled, "Yes, I did fall in love with Gunanzi. So what? Do you even realize what you've done during this time? Do you really?" Once she started, all her anger erupted uncontrollably. She stepped closer to him, one step at a time. "You drove away all of my secretaries. You even deleted my work emails without permission, which caused several partners to want to terminate their contracts. In the company, I gave you access, and you used that power to bully the staff until they were all threatening to resign. Do you even know how much profit you've caused my company to lose these days? I was willing to let all of that go. But why did you have to drive Gunanzi away? You schemed against him again and again until he couldn't take it anymore and had to leave me. You were right. I do like Gunanzi. I fell in love with him. You've been gone for so long. And all these years, it was Gunanzi who stayed by my side. Lu Qingyu, what right do you have to speak about him?" She roared, her eyes filled with darkness, frightening Lu Qingyu. He couldn't help but flinch, but still refused to admit defeat. "He's just a secretary. What kind of person do you think he is?" Before he could finish his sentence, Liu Ryan raised her hand and slapped him hard across the face. A crisp sound echoed through the office. Lu Qingyu was utterly stunned. He couldn't believe Liu Ryan had actually hit him. "You actually hit me." Lu Qingyu was in utter disbelief. "You were the one who kept saying you loved me, and now you hit me for the sake of a secretary." But his words meant nothing now, because after recognizing her true feelings, Liu Ryan looked at him with nothing but disgust. She grabbed the man's hand. Without hesitation, she slapped him again. A loud crack rang out. Lu Qingyu's head jerked to the side from the force. His eye immediately began to swell. The fury in her eyes burned with no sign of fading, every word colder than the last. Gunanzi had suffered far more injustice than this. "So what if I hit you? I want you to apologize to him." Her gaze was frigid. Whatever softness she once had was now completely gone. Now she only felt disgust toward Lu Qingyu. She couldn't believe she had done so much for him, while he had hurt Gunanzi again and again. Her fingers curled tightly, her expression icy, enough to make Liu Qingyu tremble in fear. He had never seen Liu Ryan like this. He kept telling himself she had always treated him well, always giving in to whatever he wanted. And all of it was because of me. Liu Qingyu's eyes burned with resentment, as if he wanted to cut me into 1,000 pieces. Liu Ryan clearly saw that look, and only hated herself more for realizing his true nature so late, for letting me endure so much pain for nothing. She let out a cold laugh, the sound enough to make anyone's blood run cold. It was time to return everything to Gunanzi. As she spoke, she grabbed Liu Qingyu and began to drag him toward the door. Her fury scared him out of his wits. He forgot all sense of dignity and struggled in panic. But no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't break free. She dragged him to the office entrance. Then a few bodyguards arrived to restrain him. Since you like making people kneel, then you can kneel here until tomorrow. She ordered the guards to keep watch over him, then turned and left without sparing his pleas a glance. Her heart was now filled entirely with me. Only after admitting she loved me did she realize how deeply wrong she had been. After spending for years together, she had long since become inseparable from me, but she just refused to admit it, until losing me made her finally understand regret. Inside the car, she slammed the steering wheel hard, then lost control completely and started throwing out every decoration Liu Qingyu had left behind. None of it was anything I liked. She had to clear it all away, whether it was the trinkets or the seat cushions. Even the snacks he had bought on purpose, she threw them all out. But no matter how hard she looked, this car no longer held a single memory of me. We had shared so many wild moments in this car, yet not a single trace remained. At that moment, Liu Ryan felt like her heart was being torn apart. She couldn't take it anymore, and smashed her own car against the curb, trying to vent the fury buried deep inside her. Then she took another car and drove back to the villa. Even that place had been remade entirely to suit Liu Qingyu's taste. He had only been back for a month, and already overridden my 4 years of presence. Her eyes reddened as she stood inside the villa and felt like she couldn't breathe. All those glaring decorations were like blades cutting into her heart. She desperately searched for anything I had left behind, even just a fragment or a corner. But there was nothing. Her helplessness reached its breaking point, and she began to destroy everything inside, smashing it all to pieces. She didn't dare to rest, because the moment she closed her eyes, I would appear in her mind. She remembered that day, watching me pack, but not stopping me, watching helplessly as I took everything with me. She was in so much pain she wished she could go back in time. She sat in the villa crying all night, clinging to the last bit of warmth that still belonged to me. When the sun finally rose, her assistant arrived. "President Liu, it's time to head to the company. Young Master Liu is still waiting for you." He gave her a gentle reminder. Liu Ryan lifted her tear-streaked, reddened eyes. All that remained in her heart was hatred. If you weren't Liu Qingyu, how could I have ever left him? All of this was Liu Qingyu's fault. I drove to the company. When he finally spoke, his voice was so hoarse it was barely audible. By the time Liu Ryan arrived at the company, it was the peak of rush hour. Employees bustled in and out. Everyone's eyes were drawn toward a certain corner of the building. There, Liu Qingyu knelt with disheveled hair and a filthy appearance, pinned to the ground by bodyguards without a shred of dignity. He looked utterly miserable. He had been kneeling there the entire night. His body swayed on the verge of collapse, nearly fainting from exhaustion. The surrounding stares only deepened his overwhelming humiliation. Once basking in glory, Liu Qingyu now brimmed with nothing but resentment toward me. He shrieked hysterically, "Gunanzi, you filthy wretch! It's all your fault if not for you. How could Liu Ryan treat me like this? Why don't you just die? It'd be better if you were dead. You dared to seduce Liu Ryan. You're nothing but a shameless scum. His cursing stirred disgust among the onlookers. Several co-workers who got along well with me stepped forward to defend me. Lu Qingyu, furious and unhinged, started hurling insults at everyone. You bunch of idiots. You must have taken his bribes to speak for him. Just then, Liu Ryan strode over quickly. The crowd instinctively parted to let her through. His eyes lit up for a moment, but she stared at Lu Qingyu, full of disappointment and disgust. Lu Qingyu looked like he'd seen a lifeline. He scrambled to her feet, clutched her legs, sobbing, "Ryan, you have to stand up for me. They're all bullying me. It's all Gu Nanzi's doing." Liu Ryan kicked him aside. Her voice ice-cold. "Lu Qingyu, do you still feel no remorse? I already know everything you've done. You smeared my name time and time again, even caused massive losses for the company. Did you think I'd keep tolerating you?" Lu Qingyu collapsed on the ground from her kick, his eyes wide in disbelief. "Ryan, how could you treat me like this? You're the one who loves me." But Liu Ryan looked down at him from above, without a trace of hesitation. "The one I love is Gu Nanzi. From beginning to end, he's the only one I've ever loved. It was only because I was foolish before that I let myself be blinded by you. But now I've seen my heart clearly. Leave, we're finished." His pupils dilated, brimming with disbelief. Then suddenly he laughed out loud. "You're telling me to leave? Liu Ryan, let me tell you this. It wasn't me who forced Gu Nanzi away. It was you. You think I don't know what you two did? You were with him for years, and never once made it public. The moment I came back, you clung to me like a leech. You're the one who truly drove him away." The moment those words left his mouth, everyone was stunned. Even the calm on Liu Ryan's face began to darken. Lu Qingyu, seeing no way out, embraced destruction and kept taunting her. "Gu Nanzi is nothing but a fool. For years, and he still willingly played the role of your secret lover. Liu Ryan, you're the one who never trusted him. You saw him suffering and still chose me. You think I pushed him away? No, Liu Ryan, it was you who did that." Her face grew increasingly dark. Her fists clenched tighter. "Looks like you still don't see the error of your ways." She ordered the bodyguards to restrain him again and drag him off without mercy. When we got back to the villa, she told the bodyguards to lock him in the basement. Liu Ryan made him repeat everything he once did to smear me. This time, the one suffering became him. He was forced to carry scalding bowls. His hands were burned red and covered in blisters, or punished by kneeling. And once he knelt, it was for the entire day. Even if he fainted, he had to keep kneeling once he woke. During this time, Liu Ryan didn't visit him even once. She had far more important things to do. Ever since she realized her true feelings, she swore to win me back. She knew that her only hope of finding me was through my younger brother. So Liu Ryan went to Liu Yunfeng's residence and knocked on the door. Yunfeng opened it, but the moment he saw it was his sister, the smile on his face froze into an expression of disgust. "What are you doing here?" Liu Ryan knew she was in the wrong. She brought gifts in both hands and forced a smile. "Yunfeng, I know I was wrong before. I want to ask you for a favor. Do you know where Gu Nanzi is? I want to find him and apologize to him." Liu Yunfeng let out a cold laugh. "Now you remember to look for him. Do you remember how you treated him before? For the sake of Lu Qingyu, you hurt Gu Nanzi again and again, and now you think you can make it right. It's too late, Ryan. I know I made a mistake. I want to make it up to him. Please tell me where Gu Nanzi went. I won't let Lu Qingyu hurt him again. From now on, I'll stay with him properly. Aren't you and Gu Nanzi close friends? If I'm with him from now on, you'll get to see him every day too. Yunfeng quickly cut her off. Even without you, Gu Nanzi and I would still be close as brothers, as long as he's doing well. It doesn't matter to me where he is. You hurt him so many times, and you still want to win him back. You're the one who told me before that Lu Qingyu was my brother-in-law. Liu Ryan stiffened and said nothing. Yunfeng, naturally outspoken by nature, felt a surge of anger the moment he thought of the wrongs I'd suffered. Seeing her silent, he became even more sarcastic. For Lu Qingyu's sake, you not only hit Gu Nanzi, you even hit me too. And now you say you were wrong. Don't you think it's far too late? Let me tell you this. Right now, Gu Nanzi is living well abroad. The moment she heard that, Liu Ryan swayed. She took a deep breath and lowered her head in front of her younger brother. Brother, I know I was wrong. I've already punished Lu Qingyu. If you don't believe me, I can take you to see it. Please tell me where Gu Nanzi is. I truly know I was wrong. Nanzi has loved me for 8 years. 8 whole years. He will definitely forgive me. The more she spoke, the faster her words came, as if something was chasing her from behind. Her eyes gradually turned red. But Yunfeng, hearing all this, only found it laughable beyond belief. It was the first time he ever thought his sister was ridiculous. Gu Nanzi has loved you for 8 years. And how did you treat him? You treated Gu Nanzi like a bed warmer, a tool, a pet that came when called and was cast aside when done. You're the one who drained every bit of love Gu Nanzi had. Now that he's gone, you finally realize you were wrong. Sister, I'm human too. I feel pain too. As she listened to her brother's words, Liu Ryan was overwhelmed by memories. Her voice was hoarse. Her eyes rimmed red. And then she dropped to her knees. Yunfeng, please just let me see Nanzi once. Just once. If he truly doesn't forgive me, then I'll never disturb him again. From childhood to now, Liu Ryan had never begged anyone for anything before. This was the first time he actually knelt before his own younger brother. All for me, the one who had left him behind. Liu Yunfeng never expected that his proud sister could go to such lengths. But he himself couldn't betray his good friend just for his sister. He clenched his jaw in frustration. I can ask for you. If Nanzi is willing to see you, I'll tell you his current address. Liu Ryan, who had already lost hope, suddenly lit up with anticipation in her eyes. She nodded eagerly without hesitation. Liu Yunfeng sent me a message, but there was a time difference between here and abroad. He advised his sister to head home first, and said he'd inform her as soon as there was news. But Liu Ryan refused to leave no matter what. She stubbornly stayed at her brother's place, sleeping on the sofa, waking at the slightest sound, hoping it would be news about me. It wasn't until the following evening that Liu Yunfeng finally received a reply. All right, I'll meet with him. Just a few brief words. Yet they brought Liu Ryan a glimmer of hope. Nanzi was still willing to see him. That meant there was still a chance between us. Filled with excitement, Liu Ryan rushed to buy the earliest flight. Liu Yunfeng grabbed her arm, frowning in disapproval. Sis, take a day to rest before you go. You haven't rested for days, have you? Since Lanzi agreed to see you, he definitely won't break that promise. Liu Ryan pulled her hand away. I can't wait any longer. Since Lanzi left me, I've been missing him day and night. Right now, I just want to see him. His gentle brows and eyes left Liu Yunfeng completely puzzled. Watching the back of his sister rushing away, he couldn't help but sigh softly. If only you'd known this earlier. Why make the choice back then, sis? But Liu Ryan didn't hear those words. Her thoughts were entirely consumed by Gu Nanzi. Just thinking of seeing Gu Nanzi again filled her heart with a surge of excitement. Even after boarding the plane, she couldn't find peace to rest. Had Gu Nanzi been doing well abroad these days? Had he lost weight? Was he short on money? Living in a foreign land, he must have been uncomfortable. Whenever he thought of me, his heart softened, his mind filled with my image. From the time I was a shy, youthful boy, harboring what I thought was a well-hidden crush. But in his eyes, it was always clear as day. Yet he only had eyes for Liu Qingyun, and so he overlooked me entirely. Even after that wild, unexpected night, he never considered me. No one would have expected that I, always so cautious, would suddenly confess my feelings to him. He turned me down, but didn't reject. This young and energetic body of mine. We made passionate love in countless places. I was always considerate, never like those other men who'd do anything for money. That was good and suited his heart well. It was also why he had always silently accepted me. If Liu Qingyu hadn't suddenly returned, he had even thought that continuing this kind of relationship with me wouldn't be so bad. When exactly did he fall in love with me? Was it when he saw how hard I worked, noticed how thoughtful I was, or felt the depth of my love? Liu Ryan couldn't quite say. These past 4 years had gone by too fast. Before he realized it, he had already been captured by my love, but he realized it far too late. And that was why I left. But now I won't leave again. He had already made up his mind. As long as I could forgive him, he would do anything I asked. He would no longer treat me as just a bed partner, but would openly declare the relationship between us. He would marry me and love me for the rest of his life, using his whole lifetime to make up for all the hurt I had suffered. Thinking about the life of returning to his side, Liu Ryan couldn't help but smile. A sense of happiness filled her chest, making her long deeply for the moment she would see me. After 8 hours, the plane finally landed. Liu Ryan hurried toward the address we had agreed on. I arranged to meet him at a cafe. He pushed open the door. The wind chime jingled softly. I sat in the corner and saw him at a glance. It had only been a month, but it felt like a year had passed. The waiting had been unbearable. Now that I finally saw him, a wave of unreality washed over me. Back when I was his secretary, I always wore professional attire. Even when I played little tricks in private, his impression of me was always serious. But now, dressed casually, with messy hair falling across my brow, I seemed to him like the me from the past, that boy who had once quietly loved him. He paused for a few seconds, then walked over and greeted me with a smile. Long time no see. He suppressed the urge to embrace me immediately and stared greedily at my face. Let's keep it short. I agreed to meet you, only to make things clear between us. I'm not in the mood to reminisce. I took a sip of coffee. Just as I was about to continue, he hurried to speak. I know what you mean. Everything before was my fault. I didn't realize my true feelings, and that's why I hurt you. Nancy, now I realize I love you. The only person I truly love is you. He poured out the words in one breath, his eyes sparkling, hoping for a response from me. But my expression didn't change. I only gave a faint, indifferent smile. Liu Ryan, it's too late. Whether it's your apology or your love, if you're done talking, then I'll be going. I don't think there's anything left for us to discuss. His face tensed, and he instinctively grabbed my hand, panic rising in his eyes. Nancy, please. We still have a future. I've already punished Liu Qingyu. As long as you come back, I'll give you everything. It's been for years. Just because of this 1 month, do you really not love me anymore? I know you're just still angry inside. You can hit me, curse me, whatever you want. Nancy, I'm begging you to come back, okay? I shook off his hand. My tone was calm. Yes, because of this 1 month, I finally saw you clearly. I don't love you anymore. Liu Ryan will never go back again. I wish you and Liu Qingyu a lifetime of happiness. I said as I stood up to leave. He never expected such a reaction. In his heart, he believed I had loved him to my core. How could that love suddenly disappear? A wave of panic unlike anything before hit him. When he heard I was leaving, he comforted himself, thinking I still loved him, but now seeing me, hearing me say I didn't love him anymore. In that moment, it felt like a knife sliced through his heart. He gripped my hand tightly, unwilling to let go. His always proud figure trembling. He lowered himself, his voice breaking. With a pitiful sob, "Nancy, please don't treat me like this. I really know I was wrong. As long as you're willing to forgive me, we can go back and get married right away. I'll never let you stay nameless and titleless in the company again. If you want to keep being my secretary, you can. If not, then just stay at home. I'll earn money to support you. From now on, what's mine is yours, no matter who shows up again. I'll never hurt you. Nancy, I'm begging you to forgive me this once. We've been together for so long. You can't just leave me over one mistake." If it had been before, hearing those words would have made me so happy. After all, she was the woman I had loved for 8 years, and we were finally about to be together. But now, because of what she did, my heart had already died. That 8-year love no longer existed. Those memories only made me hate myself for being blind, for wasting so many years on Liu Ryan. I took a deep breath and firmly pried his hand away. "Liu Ryan, I've made myself very clear. There's no future for us anymore. Isn't this exactly what you wanted from the start? I told you before that if the one you loved came back, I would leave on my own. When Liu Qingyu came back, I still hoped that maybe you'd develop feelings for me too, that you'd choose me instead of her. But the truth proved I was wrong." Looking at my expression, he had the sense that he was truly losing me. He kept shaking his head, and for the first time, he cried in front of someone, almost begging as he reached for me. "Nancy, I was really wrong. Please give me a chance to make it up to you. Nancy, Nancy." But I didn't. I turned around and left just like that, disappearing from his sight. He sat in that cafe in a daze and didn't leave until they closed. He had no idea what to do. His heart was full of pain, and the more it hurt, the clearer it became to him just how important I was to him. He had somehow let me slip through his fingers. If Liu Qingyu hadn't come back, if he had realized sooner that he loved me, if he hadn't disappointed me, 1,000 what-ifs flashed through my mind. But I knew there was no turning back for him. He wandered the foreign streets in confusion. A bolt of lightning split the sky, followed by a torrential downpour. People on the street ran for cover, but Liu Ryan had no idea where to go. He walked through the rain, murmuring my name, his whole body drenched. Suddenly, his phone rang. He picked it up with hope. It was a message from Liu Yuanfeng. "Come home," it said. As he stared at the words, his vision blurred. He wondered how things between us ended up like this. He knelt in the downpour, sobbing as though his soul were breaking. The sound of the rain drowned out everything, including the anguish in his heart. He dragged himself to an apartment building. The door was tightly shut. It was my place, the only place where he could feel even the slightest comfort. He didn't dare knock, just curled up outside the door. He hadn't slept for days. Soaked through by the rain, he somehow drifted into sleep. In his dream, I forgave him. He had returned to China, just like before. But in the dream, he didn't let me down. He announced our relationship immediately, even proposed to me. I pulled him into my arms through tears, saying I'd waited so long for this day. Liu Ryan smiled faintly, as if he had finally caught happiness. Then he collapsed in the pouring rain. When he opened his eyes again, his head throbbed with a splitting pain, and his body could barely move. He struggled to open his eyes and saw an unfamiliar ceiling above him. He tried to sit up in shock, but a gentle voice stopped him. "Don't move." Hearing that voice, it was as if all else faded into nothingness. I couldn't care about anything else and sat up abruptly. I pulled her tightly into my arms by the bedside, as if I had finally found something I thought I had lost forever. "Nancy, have you forgiven me? I know I was wrong. I will spend my entire life making it up to you. Please believe me. I truly know I was wrong. I can't live without you." He spoke while crying. Regret flooded his heart like crashing waves. Liu Ryan paused. "I only did this for Yuan Feng. If you had died at my doorstep, Yuan Feng would have been devastated." I furrowed my brows and pulled away from that embrace. Only then did Liu Ryan look carefully at my face. There was not a trace of emotion in my eyes, only cold disdain. That expression pierced his heart like a blade. His face turned pale, his hands froze midair, and he stared blankly at me, as if he were looking at the one he loved most but could never have. Grief overtook his entire being. He called out my name in a hoarse voice, but I said nothing. My gaze remained indifferent. "I've already called Yuan Feng. He'll come to take you. Don't come looking for me anymore. I'm doing just fine here without you. Let the past stay in the past. The moment you chose Lu Qingyu, we were over." Her voice grew more painful with each word. He looked deeply at me standing before him. So close, yet so impossibly far. A distance he could never bridge again. "We truly have no more chances." He looked at me with one last sliver of hope. I finally looked him in the eye and answered one word at a time. "Yes, there are no more chances for us." It was like 1,000 arrows pierced his heart. Liu Ryan's pain nearly crushed him. He reached out, wanting to touch my face one last time. But even that small wish, I cruelly denied by stepping away. Liu Ryan's eyes welled up with anguish, and tears fell. It wasn't long before Liu Yuanfeng arrived. He rushed over the moment he got my call. My expression softened as I looked at him. "Yuanfeng, you're here." We sat down and exchanged a few words. And when it was time to part, Liu Yuanfeng couldn't help his guilt. "I'm sorry, Nancy. I couldn't stop her. My sister came looking for you on her own and caused you all this trouble." I patted him on the shoulder. "It's all right even if you hadn't said anything. Liu Ryan would have found her own way here. It's better to rip the bandage off than to prolong the pain. It's good we finally said everything clearly." Even so, Liu Yuanfeng still felt deeply apologetic. He turned to glance at the distant Liu Ryan, then looked back at me with restraint. He couldn't help but ask, "Nancy, if Lu Qingyu had never shown up, would you have stayed with my sister?" That was a question Liu Ryan also desperately wanted answered. I thought about it for a moment. I had once asked myself that same question, but after everything I had gone through that month, I now understood. Even if it hadn't been Lu Qingyu, there would have been someone else. Because Liu Ryan's love for me was only the kind that realizes regret after losing something. I smiled with quiet acceptance. There was no need to explain. Maybe they all already knew the answer. Liu Yuanfeng returned to China with a broken Liu Ryan. The Liu family business had suffered heavy losses during this period, and Liu Ryan no longer had the heart to manage the company. She had completely lost her will. We had no choice but to temporarily leave everything to Liu Yuanfeng. The poor guy had just returned to the country and already had to brace himself to clean up the mess his sister left behind. He had no time to settle in before facing the storm. Fortunately, he had studied economics and management while abroad, so he wasn't completely lost in the dark. But just as Liu Yuanfeng prepared to take over the company, he still kindly gave him a stack of photos. "While you were overseas, I found out a few things too. Take a look." When Liu Ryan opened them, They were all about Lu Qingyu. Liu Yuanfeng had discovered that during those years abroad, he had never taken his studies seriously. He spent his days chasing women and partying, and had ambiguous ties with several wealthy foreign women. There were even multiple women who had abortions because of him. He was no longer anything like the man Liu Ryan once remembered. But then again, what was he even like back then? Liu Ryan stared blankly, realizing she could no longer recall his face from those early days. 10 years apart and then reunited, that first love, that tender emotion, had long since been worn away by time. Now whenever he closed his eyes, only my face would appear in his mind, whether smiling or in love. It stirred his heart vividly and painfully. But after another 10 years pass, could he really forget me the way he forgot Lu Qingyu? A sense of hesitation and sorrow rose within him. But the one who caused all of this was no one but himself. He had known full well what Lu Qingyu had done. But because of that vague attachment, he kept claiming it was love. And for someone like that, he actually pushed me away from his side. Even when he looked again at those photos, his heart didn't stir in the slightest, as if it had died along with everything else. Thank you, Yuanfeng. I won't let you worry for long, he apologized in a hoarse voice. Then suddenly remembered something, and smiled faintly at his younger brother. I nearly forgot I still owe you something, he said as he raised his hand and slapped himself hard across the face. The sound echoed sharply, and his face immediately swelled up, startling Liu Yuanfeng. Sis, what are you doing? Liu Ryan swallowed the lump in her throat. I hit you before. I'm sorry, this is to make up for that. Liu Yuanfeng frowned again, not knowing what to say. His hand lifted and dropped several times, before he finally exhaled a deep sigh. Forget it, just don't mess things up again from now on. Who knows, maybe another man will show up one day. And when that happens, you can't let him slip away. He smiled and waved it off as fate. Liu Ryan said nothing. She just watched her brother leave. She didn't want to ruin his mood, because deep down, they both knew there would never be another me. The sour sting of emotion rose in her chest, but she quietly swallowed it down. Liu Ryan picked up the photos and walked toward the basement. During that time, Lu Qingyu had suffered miserably. He couldn't eat or sleep. Everything he had once done to me was now being returned to him 1,000-fold. It all came back to him, every last bit. He trembled in the basement, and when the door opened, light spilled in. He didn't even realize what was happening at first, until Liu Ryan stepped inside. Only then did he awaken as if from a dream. Like a drowning man clutching at the last straw, he crawled over and clung to her leg. Ryan, I was wrong. Please forgive me. I won't bother you and Gudon anymore. I'll stay far away from now on. And I swear I'll never love you again, not even in 10,000 years. Please let me go. I really know I was wrong. The man begged for mercy, while crying so hard he could barely speak. He looked utterly pitiful. Liu Ryan said nothing. She studied that face carefully. All its youth and beauty had faded, leaving only endless greed and desire. Why had he ever lost the most important person in his life for someone like him? That thought alone sparked anger in Liu Ryan again. She wished she could tear Lu Qingyu apart piece by piece. But Yuanfeng and I hadn't been wrong. At its core, it was his own moment of blindness that caused it all. Everything Lu Qingyu did only made use of what was already there. He took a deep breath to calm himself and tossed the photos down. When Lu Qingyu saw what was inside, his pupils shrank in shock. Those were the very parts of his past he most wanted to bury. He had come back to the country only because he had failed abroad, but he never expected that truth to be dug up again. He panicked, completely at a loss. No, 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 no. That's not me. You have to believe me. None of that is me. It's all garbage. Someone's trying to frame me. It's that bastard. He doesn't want you to forgive me. So he brought this out to make you angry. He clutched his head and babbled like a madman, as if he'd completely lost his mind. I wasn't like that abroad. I went to a top-tier university. I had a good job and a girlfriend who loved me. None of that ever happened. This is all fake. This isn't supposed to be my life. He sobbed harder as he spoke. At first, when he went overseas, he really did live freely and recklessly. With his good looks, he had several ambiguous lovers. They were all willing to spend money on him. Even when he made mistakes, someone would always defend him. But somewhere along the way, everyone around me started to disappear. I never got my diploma. So I had to buy a fake degree from a third-rate school. I hit dead ends in every job search. I couldn't even support myself, so I had no choice but to sell my body. My reputation spread quickly across the country, and I lost any place to stand. So I had to come back. At first I was relieved to know Liu Ryan was still waiting for me at home, but now I finally understand everything comes with a price. Liu Qingyu knelt there, sobbing helplessly. He kept apologizing and banging his head on the ground. But Liu Ryan's expression remained cold. She just looked at him until Liu Qingyu was completely out of strength. Then she finally spoke. "You should go." That unexpected response made Liu Qingyu's eyes widen in disbelief. "What did you say, Ryan? What did you just say?" Liu Ryan repeated it again. "Go, Liu Qingyu, from this moment on. There's nothing between us. I once loved you, but that love has faded with time. Now someone else is in my heart." When he heard that, Liu Qingyu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He didn't even know where he could go. Liu Ryan left. She didn't look back. The door was left open. There were no more bodyguards to torment him. But somehow, the unknown future now felt more terrifying than the present. It took a long time before Liu Qingyu slowly stood up and stumbled out, leaving the Liu estate behind. No one knew where he went, and no one cared. Once Liu Ryan had rested, she took over the company again. Liu Yuanfeng let out a sigh of relief. He had never wanted to manage the family business. He had always had his own dreams and plans. A year later, Liu Yuanfeng received a text message from me. I told him that my best friend was getting married, and I invited him to be the groomsman. Liu Yuanfeng was overjoyed. He dropped everything in his hands and immediately bought a ticket, ready to fly over. Liu Ryan heard the news from her younger brother. Her hand paused for a moment, then her eyes drooped down. She asked casually, pretending not to care, "Getting married this soon, huh?" Over the past year, he had often learned about me through his brother. He knew I had a girlfriend I loved deeply. But now I was actually getting married. Liu Ryan felt her vision blur. She could no longer see the words on the paper clearly. She heard my gentle voice from Liu Yuanfeng's phone speaker. "Yes, it's about time to get married," I said. "It's hard enough to meet someone right. I don't want to wait any longer." While talking on the phone, Liu Yuanfeng packed his things. "That's true, but are you planning to settle abroad permanently?" he asked. "Not coming back at all? You're still making me run around like this. You heartless guy, don't even think to come visit me." He cursed with a laugh and quickly finished packing his suitcase. He waved at Liu Ryan as he left, saying, "I'm off." "Sis." Liu Ryan said nothing. Only after Liu Yuanfeng had walked far away and his figure disappeared, and my voice on the phone could no longer be heard, did she slowly lower the hand holding the document, resting her palm on her forehead. Her tears fell. Her heart ached unbearably. "So this is what it feels like to watch the man you love deeply marry someone else." She trembled, unable to stop the painful tears. Pain surged silently within her. Another year passed. Liu Yuanfeng got married too. I returned to the country, and as promised, served as his groomsman. Liu Ryan hadn't seen me in a long time. She tried to control her emotions, but her gaze couldn't help lingering on me. Afraid to disturb this dream, after the wedding ended, Liu Ryan accompanied her brother to toast the guests. When it was my turn, Liu Yuanfeng smiled and joked, "Long time no see." Liu Ryan nodded calmly, "Long time no see." With difficulty, she reached out and gently clinked her glass with mine. The crisp sound echoed in her excited heart. She had so many things she wanted to say. How much I had changed. How was I doing? Was I happy? But all of those impulses stopped the moment a woman walked up. Because she was my wife. Liu Ryan handed a glass of wine to my wife. "Sorry," she said. "She's pregnant. She can't drink alcohol, so I'll drink in her place." I couldn't help but smile. Liu Yuanfeng was astonished. "You already have a baby on the way? Nancy, why didn't you tell me? Do you not treat me like a brother anymore?" I quickly explained. "It's only been a month. I wanted to wait until it was more stable before telling you. It's still too early now." Liu Yuanfeng immediately claimed the title of godfather. My wife's eyes were full of tenderness, and I was surrounded by a helpless kind of happiness. The four of us stood together. Only Liu Ryan felt like an outsider. So this is what it means when the best ending is becoming strangers. Liu Ryan stared blankly at my happy face, watching how easily I leaned into my wife. Her heart suddenly throbbed in pain. She raised her glass and murmured softly to me, "Congratulations, you finally found your happiness." Then she downed the drink in one gulp. For the first time, she realized. So this is how bitter it really tastes. She quietly walked away, no longer disturbing us. A breeze passed by. I looked up and only then noticed that the spot from earlier was already empty. I felt a moment of daze, then shook my head, because now everyone most important to me was right by my side.